Buenos dias, bonjour, good morning, o genki desu ka? Ni hao ma. Welcome to episode 16, part deuce. Decoding the hive mind. In furtherance of that objective, provide this for your consideration. Amplitude is volume. The Y in this image, up and down, is amplitude in science speak. There you see at the bottom of the image, Y equals amplitude. Amp up the volume, dude, is a good way to understand that the louder, more signet key codes means a bigger energy pattern, a sound wave, the more amplitude, amplification. In the image above, this image here, folks, right here, and that image right there, you have seen. One who has the eyes to see and the ears to hear will get this message. You see how any particle action moves forward once it has been initiated by a sentient command held inside its Keylon grid. The wave height it travels in is determined by the geometric key code held inside its template for that particle's particular job in that particular dimension or frequency spectrum. Think of 89 FM on the radio dial being 1 inch high in wave size, and 108 FM is 5 inches high. What we call amplitude is another word for matter. Don't think so? Well, amplitude is another word for size. Size is another word for power. Power is another word for energy. Energy is another word for mass. Mass is another word for matter. Energy, power, amplitude, and size are all used to explain mass. Squirrel. When there is no such thing as matter in order to make up mass. At its quantum, the only thing that exists that we can measure is light, and only by the energy carried in that light. Ask any scientist alive to disprove that statement. Light is created by sound. Sound is created by friction. Friction is created by action. Action is created by intent. Intent is created by will. Will is created by thought. Without thought, there can be none of the above. All that we can measure are the results of thought, meaning that nothing can possibly exist without awareness. Awareness is what created the command to be given to the ether particle in order to begin its journey to do one thing or the other. The one dimension you are in now, the third, is made up of many dimensions nested inside the one dimension called interdimensions, as mentioned earlier. That's a lot of mentioning in dimensions. Different particles use different dimensions for their differing task, which is determined by their amplitude. Keep in mind, folks, what is amplitude? That's right, amplitude is power. Their amplitude is the size when they are finally large enough to become visible within that viewable spectrum. You can only see certain dimensions because your eyes can only see within a very small frequency range. Wavelength is distance. How fast a particle moves forward is called wavelength or modulation. It is also called frequency, meaning this many waves pass by in 1 second as it moves forward. Why there are 3 different terms for the exact same thing is to confuse you, so you don't really know what wavelength, modulation, and frequency mean, because obviously they must be 3 different things in your mind. They're not. They're all the same thing. This is the hidden hand in modern physics, keeping you from being able to explain what it is you see or experience. If I use many different terms for the exact same thing, I sound very clever, and I hide the true meaning of what that thing is, so you can never understand it. It also maintains the all-important hubris in a world where ego is God. Wavelength is the distance per second that sound message is traveling. Each time that wave peaks, that is the beginning of a new event horizon cycle for that sound. At that crest point, the top and bottom half of the hexagram, triangles, tetrahedrons, complete a revolution, which triggers another spark of energy which powers the wave forward. This is the scientific way to explain where the power comes from, that continually pushes the wave forward. But in reality, a sentient being is relaying the message, and the fission-fusion reaction is inside the mind of that being that is tasked to push that along. If there weren't another sentient being thinking about pushing it forward, there would be no possible way for that message to get from one place to another. It is all powered by consciousness, but there are physical, scientific explanations as to where the energy is generated from. And that's what I am showing you through particle science right now. Without understanding the physics, it is impossible to understand that you are one of this family, that you are one of the same family of God who are producing the hologram you call reality. This is not magic, it is physics. There's another image for your consideration. Good viewer audience for early Saturday morning. Wavelength, crest to crest, the trowel. Frequency is speed or velocity. Your eyes can only see certain velocities and intensities or size of that thing in motion. This is so you don't get off balance by everything around you, which are constantly in motion. That's why your eyes are limited to the view of this one dimension, unless you deliberately use a microscope to see into other dimensions where you are focusing on in that one visual spectrum. You are not walking around while viewing a different dimension, such as in a laboratory. You are still, laboratory. You would not be able to remain physically balanced while doing that unless you blocked out all the other elements within that dimension outside of your view. That is why night goggles wrap around the sides of the eye. What you can organically see is regulated by how many peaks the wave travels before it recycles again, which regulates the distance things are supposed to be from you to the mountain or to that tree. This is the portion of the space-time fabric that regulates size. In other dimensions, you would automatically be taller if that is a higher dimension, because the waves travel further between peaks, which means they are moving faster. This will also slow down time because you have a greater perceived distance in which to operate. If a baseball is thrown at 70 miles per hour, your eyes would see it depending on how far you are away from the ball, distance. But the same ball thrown at 100 miles per hour becomes invisible. Why is this magic? Of course not. All things work within a flash line sequence that phases them out when they are faster or slower or further away than your viewable spectrum and flashes back in again when its frequency harmonizes with your eye. When the ball leaves the pitcher's hand, you can't see it because it is traveling too fast. Modulation. But by the time it reaches the plate, you might be able to view it when it reduces down to a frequency. Flash line sequence within your human visual spectrum. Here we are, folks. Visual spectrum at varying intensity, frequencies, waves, speeds. What is at the quantum of your visual spectrum makes up what you see. What you see, you consider to be real. What is actually real makes up millions of dimensions outside of that one tiny little frequency range you are allowed to view while in this one dimension. Let that sink in, okay? Just let's read that again. What you see, you consider to be real. What is actually real makes up millions of dimensions outside of that one tiny little frequency range you are allowed to view while in this one dimension. There you go. There is a set infrastructure to each dimension. which are each made up of limited visual spectrums in order to keep them separate from each other, so life within manifestation for each fractal of self-aware particles of God source aren't just limited to be able to experience just this one level of existence. It would be pretty boring if there were only one dimension for you to look forward to. The laws of physics differ only in frequency and amplitude between each dimension, so you are allowed to experience greater and greater levels of abilities as you move higher up the ladder of manifestation. Humans can only view within the 430 to 790 terahertz spectrum with the naked eye. Oh, I did get it right, I guessed. Terahertz, or THZ, meaning terahertz, not THC, Bob. Terahertz, meaning the speed combined with power of the particles that can be viewed on the third dimension of Aurora Ascension Earth, previously known as Terra, who still prefers Terra out of sentiment to previous eras, apparently. So Earth, our planet, our mother, she likes to be called Terra. Sounds like a stripper I once knew. Moving right along. Sorry, Mother Earth, you're not a stripper. I love you. Well, I love strippers too. Well, I used to, but I'm a good guy now. I'm a good boy now. Mark's a good boy now. Dimensions are visible spectrums. Visible spectrums are frequency bands. Frequency bands are larger or smaller reality fields. Reality fields are worlds within nested worlds. Think of those Russian dolls. If you Google or DuckDuckGoose, whatever search engine, look up a Russian doll and how there's nested dollies are nested within other dolls, and there's like 9 or something. It's pretty cool. They're nested. Yeah. Each molecule or cluster of subatomic particles carries a different vibration or hum that you may or may not hear. When a particle is holding the shape of a rock, the hum is extremely low. The crystal content of the rock will determine the hum or frequency it carries. The more crystal, the higher the pitch. The higher the pitch, the higher dimensions that hum can be seen or heard. Just like the tighter you wind a toy rubber band airplane, the higher it will sail. The faster the particle spin of the molecules of that substance is, determines how high it will go. The only difference between you and higher dimension is your DNA particle spin. That's it, because all of creation, all space, all the heavens, all the expanse of everything can fit on the point of a needle, because nothing other than your awareness and thoughts actually exists. Let that marinate in your thoughts. And let me have some of the barbecue after it's done. Marinate. When you leave here for higher planes, you don't actually leave. You simply are able to see higher frequency creation. The rapture does not exist. But Jesus is up there in the clouds. He's coming to save us all. If you go to church on Sundays. What I am revealing in this section has been revealed before many times in the past. Some of that information survived, but most of it hasn't. Most of the time, what pieces of the truth that has survived has been altered for a negative effect to humans by those with a different agenda than the Guardian Alliance has. Nonetheless, here is a few thousand-year-old example of a three-dimensional Signet Keylon Grid command. The one shown here was created by your captors. Notice at the core of each of the flower petals is a Signet Keylon 0-point circle. Oh, wow. Yeah. All Signet Keylon Grid templates are shown here on paper or on the screen in two-dimensional view, but they are applied in 3 dimensions, such as shown above in this statue, as spheres, as mentioned earlier. It is important to point out that the commands held in above are what are called the flower of life. Using this geometric template of this precise number of Keylons together, which actually produces altered life creation, part of the struggle humanity is facing now. The single flower of life created by the vowel A intonation is the base creation of things within organic material form. But the numerical value of how many they place inside the sphere is what holds humans captive, which is part of the Metatron Scalar Science that surrounds mankind today. Nonetheless, life is commanded by Keylon Grid Signet Templates, as shown in this series of photos below of the way an embryo forms. There you go, folks. Oh, there's a little, look at that flower of life. See that, folks? You look at that? There you go. There you have it. All right, well, that was a nice little quick chapter to start the morning off with. I've seen a nefarious looking squirrel already trying to spy on me. I'm gonna have to go out there and talk to the Squirrel King. Find out why his squirrel scouts always keep coming and spying on me. Maybe they want to know about, maybe they have a right to know as well. Maybe they want to know about the Keylon Grid Signet Templates. Namaste. Yeah, I'm gonna have to slow down. I put like about 2 scoops in my Folgers, and it gets me a little wired. I can tell I might have to slow down to 1 scoop. 1 scoop of Folgers and the truth, folks. That's the name of this podcast. Namaste, namaskaram.